Have you ever wanted to be the guy that she can't stop thinking about? Or if you're a lady, have you ever wanted to be the only one he ever thinks about? Imagine what it would be like to be so wanted. How would that make you feel? Does it give you a power trip? If so, click off this article right now. I don't cater to narcissistic psychopaths. Instead, I want to help you create the relationship of your dreams. And you can't do that if the other person doesn't even know you exist. To fix this problem, I'm going to give you some insights on how you can become absolutely unforgettable when dealing with someone you fancy. Let's begin. 1. Create positive associations. Ever heard of Pavlov's dog? Don't worry, I'm not calling you or your crush a dog. However, the experiment also applies to humans. Pavlov took his dog and got him to associate the ringing of a bell with dinner time. He did this by ringing a bell and then giving the dog his grub. Pavlov discovered that by ringing the bell, the dog would begin to salivate. Why? Because it had been conditioned to associate the ringing of the bell with receiving food. You can apply this same lesson to the people you're interested in. Not in a sense that you're going to ring a bell whenever you want something. Instead, take the same principle and learn how you can make them associate you with positive things. For example, let's say you're on a date with your crush and get ice cream. While having the ice cream, you two are having the time of your lives. You're making jokes, flirting, and being silly with your food. If this experience became memorable, the next time either of you get ice cream, this memory will pop into your mind. You'll remember how amazing your crush was. You'll think back to how much fun you had. Just like that, something as simple as getting ice cream can make you think about each other. Cool, right? But be warned, because this can also work in the opposite way. If instead of having fun you splashed the ice cream in her face, she will forever associate you and ice cream in a negative light. Don't be an idiot. Be fun to be around, do a lot of unique things, and the person you like will naturally think about you more. 2. Be mysterious. This does not apply when you're already in a relationship. When you're officially with someone, you don't want to be hiding aspects of yourself. But in the initial stages, it's good to be a little mysterious. I'm not saying you should deliberately conceal information from the person you're seeing. Be nuanced about this. Just because you're not hiding things from someone, doesn't mean you have to be an open book. For example, let's say you're on a first date with a woman. Do you really think sharing your entire life story, all of your insecurities, and all of your past traumas is a good way to approach this interaction? Of course not. She'll never want to see you again. Why? Because you spent the entire date talking about yourself. She already feels like she knows you. As a result, what's more to learn? You weren't a mystery, you weren't interested in her, and worst of all, your life story sounded hella boring. Use a balanced approach. If she asks you something personal, don't be weird and refuse to answer her question in a dumb attempt to be mysterious. Answer her question honestly, just don't reveal absolutely everything about yourself. Attraction is a process. It takes time for someone to fall in love with you. Instead of abruptly revealing yourself as soon as you meet, treat getting to know each other like an uncovering process. Each time you see each other, you learn a little more about one another. This makes the early days of a relationship a lot more exciting. If you think this is stupid and the person you're seeing should feel honored to learn more about you, you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. What makes you think you're so special? Why do you feel the need to endlessly talk about yourself? Are you really that interesting? Take a chill pill and relax. Doing this will destroy your results in the dating world. People don't like it when the person they go out with talk about themselves all the time. You'd think people would know this by now. And yet, people keep making the same stupid mistakes. When on a first date, don't give the other person your entire life story. If you happen to have the best date ever, cool, let it all flow organically. This is very different to just narrating your life as if it's a television broadcast. Besides, what's more fun? A. Talking about yourself all night. Or B. Just talking dollar hit. It's the latter. People don't want to carry all of your emotional baggage on the first date. They just want to have fun. You can do that if you tell them how horrible your life is and how hard you've had it. It's a lot more enjoyable to do silly role plays, talk about aliens, and gradually increasing intimacy. Dates are romantic events, not therapist sessions. Stop treating them like one and increase your mystery. Remember, this is all about getting the other person to think about you more. If given the choice between someone you knew everything about vs someone who keeps their card close to their chests, who would you find more interesting? The answer is obviously the latter. I don't spend any time thinking about things I already know. Why? Because I already know them. Instead, I always find myself thinking about things I don't know. The same applies to people. You're much more likely to spend time obsessing over a handsome stranger than a childhood friend who you already know a lot about. Moving on. 3. Use the Zeigarnik effect. This psychological phenomenon was first identified by Russian psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik in the 1920s. It explains why people tend to remember unfinished or interrupted tasks more than completed ones. This is exactly what I was talking about before. I never think about the articles I've already written. Once they are published, that's it. I'm on to the next one. I wouldn't say I approach people in the same way, that would be pretty toxic, but nevertheless, there does seem to be a bias among humans for the new and exciting over the familiar and routine. Why else would people cheat on their partners? Not only that, but cheating is extremely common. People may preach about it being immoral and wrong, but human relationships are extremely messy things. It's no wonder that people cheat once their existing relationship lacks the spark necessary to remain exciting. I'm not going to lie, it's hard to not be manipulative when understanding this phenomenon. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're speaking to a girl on the phone. You've been on the phone for about 10 minutes and everything is going great. You're cracking jokes, she's laughing, and you're both having a good time. I've come across many coaches in the dating niche that tell their followers to immediately end the call once the interaction is reaching a crescendo. Why? Because by ending the call, you're leaving the girl wanting more of you. Like I said, this is pretty manipulative. It's weaponizing the Zeigarnik effect to make the other person think more about you. I personally wouldn't do this. It's one thing to abruptly end a call because you're busy, and another to manufacture a reason just to trick the girl into missing you. This isn't cool. But alas, it's a psychological phenomenon that's real. As a result, people will use it for their own selfish needs. Either way, I'm trusting you to use this information ethically. To give you a clearer idea on how the Zeigarnik effect works, think of a show like Game of Thrones. Do you remember how it felt at the end of Season 1 when the main character, Ned Stark, had his head cut off? I was a kid at the time, but I remember the adults in my life being completely hooked. They couldn't believe the main character of the show could be killed off so brutally. They were pissed off they had to wait another 6 months just to watch the next season. Cliffhangers are powerful devices when used in storytelling. There's something about them that leaves us wanting more. Because we're so used to receiving closure with stories, It's easy to go crazy when the creators don't give it to us. For a masterful demonstration of this, just study the early seasons of Game of Thrones. I know it fell off a cliff in the last 2 seasons, but still, the early seasons are filled with cliffhangers that keep the viewers glued to their seats. There's a reason why the show was such a cultural hit. It wasn't just because of all the dragons, battles, and sex. From a narrative perspective, it was masterfully crafted to keep the viewers hooked. From season 1, 6, the audience had no choice but to consistently tune in week in and week out. If not, they wouldn't be clued in on what happened and how the story resolves itself. The same principle applies to interpersonal relationships. If you leave someone wanting more, they can't help but want it. Don't use this for evil. 4. Become really cool. I'm going to be real with you, boo. There's nothing more memorable than a person who's really cool. This doesn't mean you need to be dripped out in designer threads. This doesn't mean you need to drive a limo and have rich friends. It just means your vibes are intact and your coolness is a fact. I don't want you to take this as an opportunity to be someone you're not. That's lame. Instead, I want you to understand that there's someone for everyone. The coolest version of yourself will be certifiably lame to some segments of people. This is unavoidable. There are billions of people in the world. Not all of them are going to vibe with you. Even famous people have haters who think they are cringe. The same will be the case for you. You might find that your style of cool ends up attracting you loads of goth chicks. If you're more of a rapper type, you might find loads of suburban girls finding you cool. If you're an edgy artist, you might attract university students who into postmodernism. The point is, your coolness is not going to attract everybody. It's going to attract the people who are most conducive to enjoying your vibe. Look, it sucks that you're not going to pull Jennifer Aniston or Angelina Jolie. This doesn't mean you're not as cool as Brad Pitt. It just means that your coolness is different. While he could attract those two stunners, you'll be able to attract beautiful ladies who think Brad Pitt is boring and weird. And yes, they do exist. The point is, you being cool has nothing to do with you pretending to be someone else. Your coolest version of yourself is going to be the you that's unapologetically authentic. This is a really strange example, but I'm going to roll with it. Even convicted serial killers had groupies. I'm not kidding. Go look at when Ted Bundy and Richard Ramirez were being sentenced. These guys were accused of multiple murders and had groupies turning up to their trials trying to get a piece of them. I'm not telling you to be a frightening criminal. All I'm saying is, there's someone for everyone. And the quicker you find your own authentic way to be cool, the better your results will be. In a nutshell, making someone think about you more has nothing to do with hypnotizing them or using mind games. It's mostly just about communicating value. If you're someone worth thinking about, people will think of you. It's really that simple. You'll never make someone's life worse by being your true authentic self and creating a positive impact in the lives of others. If you implement the 4 techniques I mentioned in this article, it's only a matter of time before you become the first thing on someone's mind.